Here we are at example 10 from our 2.4 number 1 set of notes. We're asked to write the equation of a line that is perpendicular to the x-axis, and on top of that it has to pass through this other point, negative 3, 8. Well, let's just first dive into something being perpendicular to our x-axis. Here's again our x-axis, here's our y. It is in fact perpendicular to this x-axis. Now you can kind of think about this y-axis as actually being perpendicular to our x-axis. So we should see some line going from up to down, just this vertical line like this. Now it also though has to pass through this other point, negative 3, 8. Negative 3, 8 is about right here, we could just estimate it. And so we should end up with this line that in fact passes through that point and is at the same time perpendicular to our x-axis. Well, if you think about it, this x value was negative 3. So in other words, x was equal to negative 3 there. We also end up with this undefined slope. But again, this equation does satisfy both conditions because it is in fact perpendicular to our x-axis, and on top of that it does pass through this point. Now again, just keep in mind, if you were trying to graph this x equals negative 3 without necessarily knowing this line, well, you would go negative 3 on your x-axis, place a dot there. Since there is no y here, y can literally be anything, and as a result we have a bunch of different y values there. So the equation of our line that's perpendicular to our x-axis and passes through this point, negative 3, 8, is x equals negative 3. Yeah, this isn't necessarily in that form, y equals mx plus b. However, it is in fact a type of standard form. Now, the reason why this is still technically in standard form is if I have x equals negative 3. Well, the number right in front of x, if it's not written, it's always assumed it's 1. Now, believe it or not, there still is a plus y here. The only difference, though, is that we have a 0 as that coefficient, and 0 times anything just comes out to be 0. So ultimately, this guy is now gone. So this really is a form of standard form. It's just kind of hidden and things are embedded inside of that standard form. Alright, but again though, that is example 10 from our 2.4 number 1 set of notes.